Today we'll be covering spawn. The first thing you're probably noticing besides this sketch are those black bars. You're probably wondering, why are they there? Well, the reason they're there is because when I originally recorded this, my screen on the tablet, it was with only Instagram in mind. So, hello black bars. Easy way to tell in all my future videos if it was done with Instagram in mind only or with YouTube in mind. Alright, so as we move on, you'll see that I angled the spawn illustration. A little tip. In the very beginning, you saw that my spawn illustration was kind of static and boring, just a front view. The tip is an easy way to make something appear more dynamic and more interesting is to just angle it slightly a couple degrees and zoom in, as seen here in this spawn illustration, and it for the most part drastically changes how it looks and it makes it more interesting and a lot better, you could say. So as this part you see here, I'm beginning to add detail. The brush that I'm using is a ragged hard round brush. I'll put the download link down below so you can download it as well. For the most part, that brush set is what I use on virtually all my illustrations. The ragged hard round brush is kind of like my go-to bread and butter, what I basically start all my illustrations with. And right here, a nice little tip on when you're drawing something is to create a new layer, draw that whole area which is here, that emblem in 100% opacity, and then you lock the transparent pixels. There's a little icon. I'll make a future video showing more in depth about this, but the purpose of it is that basically you don't have to worry about drawing perfectly exactly every part of, like example, that emblem. It's more so you could just draw freely and not worry about affecting anything else because everything is restricted within that original area that you drew. Like I said, I'll make another video to go more in depth. Now in regards to details, don't ever feel you have to have a certain or special brush because all the details that I did after using that ragged hard round brush is just using the basic default soft round opacity brush that comes with Photoshop that everyone has. So you can see right there in his body, all that is for the most part done with that soft round opacity brush. The hardness is around 40%. The flow and the opacity range from 30 to 60. So don't ever feel you have to use a special brush. You can use the defaults and come up with something that looks really cool. And you'll see here that after I illustrated one complete chain, I just flipped it, turned it, moved it around, see what I liked, what I didn't like. Yes, I got lazy, didn't want to illustrate all the chains all over again. But rather than having the exact same chain, you notice when I did it is I adjusted the highlights and shadows accordingly to whatever was the main light source. In all illustrations, there's always a main light source. And whatever that main light source is, it affects the entire illustration. Obviously, this main light source is coming from his hand. So everything is affected accordingly. The chains, his suit, the cape, his face, everything is affected by that main light source. Here I'm just adding green highlights to emphasize the main color of the light source, which is coming from his hand. Adding some more detail to it to make his hand appear more interesting. So obviously whatever the main light source, it affects it. If you introduce a color, it has to affect the whole illustration. So I just began to add more green to it. Here I changed the background color, so by adding a color, it has to affect the whole thing. That's why his cape, the edges are blue. And there you go. Here's my spawn illustration from beginning to end. Hopefully you guys liked this video, enjoyed seeing the whole process, maybe even learned a thing or two. And if you want, hit the subscribe button. Until the next one, guys.